Hey.
What's up?
Welcome to the Vergecast for the week of July 30th. I'm Nilay Patel.
I'm Ross Miller. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were going left to right. I'm so sorry.
It never works that way.
Can we start over?
Yeah, I'm Nilay Patel.
I'm Paul Miller.
I don't understand what's going on.
It
I'm
just
so
always
sorry.
works that way. Look, let me just tell you the uncomfortable truth to start with. Josh is dead. I'm sorry.
I didn't know.
How would you know? I tweeted it. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, Paul, to tell you in this way in front of a live studio
Is
audience.
that kind of dark to say that Josh is dead?
No, it's exactly what he would say if he was here. If I wasn't
But
here,
he-
Josh...
I
I think
mean,
Josh has proclaimed
it's
my
one
death
thing to
like 1,000 times.
threaten somebody with death.
And isn't in some way what I'm... Is that not what I'm doing?
No, it's more of an observation than it is a threat.
Josh will die.
That's better.
At my hands.
Look, Josh is not dead, and he's not going to die anytime soon.
Is that a
As far
threat?
as we know.
Josh will live.
Aren't we all dying? And isn't this an opportunity once a week for us to embrace our shared mortality and then talk about gadgets? Josh is still on vacation. I believe he's in a cabin in the woods. I actually think that's true. That's the email he sent out. Much deserved. He had a terrible June, so he's relaxing. But we're here.
We are.
Which is cool. I'm happy you're here with us. This is the Vergecast, where we talk about the week in technology culture, whatever the hell Paul did.
We're streaming live from a cabin in the woods.
Yeah, we're gonna cut to Josh. It's gonna be like the Blair Witch Project.
We followed Josh to the woods so we could kill him.
What? It's fine.
Okay. Yes, technology.
But there's a lot going on. It was a huge week in news, and we're gonna tell you all of that.
I'm so looking forward to being educated.
Real quick, I gotta say, so we were shooting 9 seconds earlier, and like he's seen the script for the first time because it's all news that happened today. He has no idea what's going on. His eyes just lit up so bright. We're like, Rise of the Triads comes out. He goes, I love that game.
Can you play that game? You know, we were talking.
Apparently, it's delivered on Steam.
So he will not.
We were
play it.
talking last week about digital distribution and the rise of DRM, and we forgot to mention that you're not allowed to play StarCraft 2, because it has to be online for the DRM system.
Yeah. No, I miss StarCraft. I've stopped playing video games because
Really?
I got bored with like Mass Effect 2 like halfway in. I need something a little smarter.
All right, Creighton is telling me some exciting news. So one of the biggest pieces of news this week, Microsoft relaunched Hotmail as Outlook.com. Hotmail still exists. They're going to transition everybody into Outlook. Wild new interface. Looks like Metro, basically. It's a full-screen web Metro app. And as it happens, Brian Hall, who is the program manager, GM of Windows, is on the phone with us. So we're just going to cut to Brian. Let's see, is it this button?
It's got a checkbox. I think you're good.
That button. Hello, Brian Hall.
Hi. Yeah, hi, this is Brian Hall.
Hey, man, this is Nilay Patel on the Vergecast. I'm with Ross Miller,
Hello.
Paul Miller, and a live audience of thousands of people.
And we're just talking about StarCraft.
I'm here for you. What do you want to know?
What league are you in?
What's your build?
Oh, my God.
Okay, that's about all I know.
Yeah. Right.
All right.
So, hey, let's talk about Outlook and Hotmail. What'd you do? Why'd you do it? Why did you commit this crime?
This week we released a new email service, Outlook.com. It's a new service that's really focused on supporting the cloud of apps and devices that people use for email and connecting with the other services that people use, like Facebook and Twitter. And we did this. We've had Hotmail and operated Hotmail for about 16 years. We obviously have Exchange and Outlook that people use at work, and we just decided it was time to do something new and to bring the best from each of those, put them together, and release it right in time for the new wave of products that we have coming out with Windows 8, with the new version of Office, with the new Windows Phone, and the new Xbox.
So I have a lot of questions about the interface and how you're doing the service on the back end to serve all these devices. But my first question is very simply the name. Why not reboot Hotmail, which is a huge brand, has millions of users, right? The most popular email service. You're killing Hotmail?
Is
right?
Hotmail gone for good after this?
You more or less. Anyone will be able to keep using their @hotmail.com email address, but we will be over time upgrading all Hotmail users to Outlook, and the Hotmail web interface that you know and have probably used for years and years will go away at that point.
So you can.
The main reason that. Go ahead. Sorry.
So if you have a Hotmail.com, that'll just always work. You're not. When you say we'll upgrade all users to Outlook, that to me sounds like we'll upgrade them all to at Outlook.com.
It's the UI, right?
Yeah, that's what we're asking. Just the UI?
Yeah, it's more the UI and the back-end infrastructure that we're using. Because today, for instance, if I go to hotmail.com, sign in using my @hotmail.com email address, I can go up to options and say upgrade to Outlook.
Yeah.
And when I do that, I get all of the new functions of Outlook.com. It's just that the email that I'm sending from or receiving to is my @hotmail.com address. And so in my case, for instance, you could choose to just keep using your Hotmail address ad infinitum. But in my case, I chose to also get an Outlook.com address. And now I'll still receive any email that goes to my Hotmail account. But it goes off into a folder, and when I reply, I can choose to reply from my @Outlook or my Hotmail, but I'll clearly more likely use @Outlook. And so for people that have used Hotmail for a while, they're not going to lose anything. All they get is a much better experience, more forward-looking experience for doing email, but using the same account, same contacts, same mails that they've had for a while.
Right. So let's talk about this experience. You're building in Skype. You're building in. What is a really very streamlined kind of Metro design. Have you made any like big changes for the web as opposed because we've experienced Metro on devices thus far, right? On the phone,
yeah.
On obviously with Windows 8 that's coming, you have it a little bit on Xbox, but it's never really been native on the web in this way. Have you made any like big changes to adapt to that or no?
Yes and no. I mean, certainly the biggest changes that we made were deciding to remove the things that people didn't use most of the time. And that, probably sounds kind of obvious, but just go look at the other email services that are out there and you'll see that it's not that obvious, or Hotmail for that matter. And so I think that was one of the biggest decisions that we had to make. We also had to decide to go all the way and figure out what was the right application of the design principles from Windows 8 or Windows Phone for the web. And I think you'll see one version of it with Outlook that looks great and is clearly designed for email. But you'll see another one that as we in the next month upgrade the SkyDrive experience. And that one's much more of a picture first, give people snapshots of what documents they have, that kind of thing. And it looks beautiful, but it's still the same design principles.
So there have been a lot of tweaks on the email formula, bringing in. Ross just mute switched me.
Sorry, wrong mute switch.
There have been a lot of tweaks and pulling in social and, integrating more services and chat. For instance, Gchat is in Gmail. A lot of people use it through that. Are there ways you're rethinking actual straightforward email or plan to rethink it, or can it be rethought?
I think we have some smart and pretty powerful tools, but there's definitely a lot of runway. Email's a funny thing because for the most part, email messages are email messages are email messages. And, they each get a place in your inbox or in your folder. And it was only until a couple of years ago that we started to realize and deliver features that treated different messages as, trying to accomplish very different things. For instance, you look at the email that people receive today, about 50% of it is commercial, whether it's a newsletter or a daily deal or a shipping receipt or a shipping update or anything like that. And each of those you kind of want to treat a little bit different.
Nilay forwards me all his Groupon deals.
I do. And I forward Ross all of my FedEx notifications. It's very strange.
How can you fix that?
Send me your addresses, and I'll start getting you some more of those if you'd like.
Oh, good.
And so what we found is, for instance, I do a decent amount of shopping on Amazon, and I really want to see shipping updates. I don't really care about the receipt that they send me, and I certainly don't want the email that comes that says, do you want to review the 7 products that you've bought? Because if I want to review them, I'll review them. I don't need an email. And so I'm able with Outlook.com to treat each of those differently and take the shipping receipts, put them off into a folder where I want to store them, so that I can check them, whereas the other things just automatically delete them or only keep the latest version or things like that. Similarly, photos. Like photos is an area where we put a bunch of work in because people send photos in different ways. You could send me a bunch of JPEGs, you could send me a Flickr link, you could send me a SkyDrive album. So we've been working on how do we make sure that we recognize every one of those as a photo mail and let you have a beautiful view of it without having to leave your inbox.
So I have a question.
There's a lot more we think we can do in this space.
So I think what's really interesting to me there is that, to me, is what you do with the web UI, the web version of Outlook, right? That's the main interface. Here's all these exciting new features, and here's all this stuff. But I don't want any of that on the phone. I don't even know if I want any of that in a local client on my machine where I want to be focused on, like, blasting through an inbox, right? How are you?
Agreed.
Are you going to change that for the phone interface? Is there going to be a native Hotmail client? Are you going to build into the Windows Phone mail client? What's sort of the plan for all the other devices that come into the ecosystem?
Yeah, like a native Windows 8 app.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the Windows 8 mail app, with new versions of Outlook on the desktop, and with Windows Phone, we'll keep pushing the envelope to make sure that Outlook.com works beautifully between them, and that some of the best features are surfaced in the built-in apps.
Are you going to go beyond? Are you going to go beyond like mail protocols? I mean, that's like what I'm asking is you can write all kinds of mail clients, and they run on IMAP, or maybe they run on Exchange. But what you're doing with Outlook sounds like, at least in the web client, goes a little bit deeper than here's a bunch of mail, we'll filter it locally, or we'll do some local operations once it comes through the pipe.
Yeah.
Are the apps going to go deeper than just syncing over IMAP and Exchange to Outlook? Is there going to be a deeper integration than what kind of is standard?
Yeah, there's more that we can do there. We just released Outlook for the first time this week, and so I'm not going to go into more of the things that we're thinking about, but we certainly think we can.
Look, I'm just excited.
Will I be emailing over POP 3 with my Xbox?
Oh, my God. That POP 3 on the Xbox.
You'll be apparently going through your friends' Groupons.
Oh, good. I'm curious, for you, are you a getting things done guy? What's your actual personal approach to email? Do you win against the email?
No, I'm a piler.
Yeah.
So I'm someone who leaves things in my inbox. Who I'm pretty zen about. I am always kind of on top of things, and if I see something that I need to do, I'll GTD that thing. But I don't worry about filing things off into folders or anything like that. And it turns out that most emailers are pilers.
Yeah.
Which is partly why we built so many tools to just keep automatically cleaning up your inbox for you. One of the features that I've actually liked the most in Outlook is the way that I can flag things. Because when I flag something, it just pops to the top of my inbox. And I have a rule set that anytime I email myself, either from my work account or from my personal account, it automatically flags. And so that ends up for the things that I'm worried I might forget about, that's the way that I stay on top of it.
Is there a point, you mentioned sort of reconciling these different apps between the phone and the Windows 8 and the web. Is there a point where those start to converge and be literally the same app, running in Silverlight or HTML5 or something like that?
I don't know. They're sharing, we're sharing more and more code between them. But I think the thing that you also have to remember is most of the people today that use email on their phone, they're using the native mail client. And so, the vast majority of people that use mail on iPhone are using mail. And so what we've done is we've made it so that through Exchange ActiveSync you can get all of your stuff there, but also all of these power features I was talking about are partly there to keep stuff out of your inbox so that just the things that you want in your inbox are there, and you can quickly triage through your mail the stuff that actually matters on your phone.
Well, I know you're kind of short on time, so I just want to wrap. I mean, I think my biggest question.
Okay.
Oh, you got time? You can stay on the whole time. You have an hour.
I don't know about the whole time. Rolling.
My question is, we're talking about all these features that we add to mail and like new interfaces, and it just, to me, it comes back, is email the right solution, right? Like ultimately, like when my parents interact with email, like I fear for them because there is so much crap in their inbox, and that's like the primary attack vector for people right now. Like You know, you send an email, click this link, and like you automatically are like, fished off into the world. Is the right solution? Is a more real time solution, like Paul's saying, like more of a chat integration? You've got Skype. Is this the right thing?
Google Wave is open source now.
Yeah. Are you gonna take some open source Google? But do you know what I mean? Like it.
Well, yeah. We're
Or
on
like,
that one.
you know, my brother-in-law is 20. He doesn't use email. He doesn't have an email address. He just uses like Facebook messaging.
Now, is that living in the past or living in the future?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's just a man about
But
time.
let's ask Bryan.
What does it mean? I think that people are going to use multiple tools.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question about that. And for certain people, like when I want to get in touch with my younger brother, I text him. And doing anything other than texting him would probably be kind of a dumb way to get in touch with my younger brother because I know how he communicates.
Mm-hmm.
And so for certain people, they'll do most of their things on Facebook or on Twitter or the like. But the thing is, email is part of the solution because it fills a set of needs that people have. Obviously, some of it for communicating with other people. Like if I just want to share a set of photos with a limited set of people, email's often the easiest way to do it. Or if I want to let people know an update about my kid's birthday party, it's pretty easy to do via email. But it also matters a lot for commercial mail. And we may not love commercial mail, but it plays an important role. And so we're going to keep doing hard work in order to make sure that that's done in a smart way and you can stay on top of it and all that kind of stuff. But we definitely see more opportunity to blend them in the right way. And that's why we have the Facebook and Twitter integration into Outlook and that kind of thing. And so it'll be interesting to watch.
Let me ask you, where should your contact list live? Where's the canonical store for your contacts? Because I want it to be local. Like I want to maintain, but that's a very power user. Like I'm going to manage this list of contacts. And that's not workable for most people.
Right.
I know a lot of people who just want it to be Facebook because that's the friend list they're managing anyway. But that doesn't work for work. So then you kind of like, maybe I'll use LinkedIn for work. And you've got all these competing canonical contact stores. How are you managing kind of that? How are you telling? I mean, because email is, I think, the place where you do the most interaction with your contact list outside of like a phone dialer.
Our approach and point of view on this one is that almost everyone's going to have multiple contact lists. And so the key isn't to try and create one grand unification theory of contact lists. Instead, it's to make sure that they connect together in the right ways. So when you want to actually use your contacts, you can do that. And so, for instance, I have my kind of personal work connections in LinkedIn. I have my friends in Facebook. I have my official work contacts in Exchange. And then I have the kind of closest friends information in my phone.
Yeah.
And so which ends up meaning really in my email because the items that I save on my phone are going into my Outlook account. And so our approach is to say, let's figure out how to connect all of those together so that you have the stuff that you want when you want it. And so, for instance, I have Facebook and LinkedIn connected to Outlook.com. And because of that, I can access any of the contact information from those.
Yep.
And they're nice because I don't have to keep updating things. They just automatically sync whatever's latest.
Right.
Until Facebook
Similarly,
makes
when I'm at
everybody...
Sorry, say that again.
Until Facebook makes everybody's default email address at facebook.com, thus ruining your contact list, right? I mean, isn't that the danger?
They fixed it though.
They did. Well, they
Kind of.
Yeah, but
Ish.
they did something.
maybe. It's possible.
They pushed a
but,
different, less crappy button, basically.
Well,
but
go ahead.
at that instance, maybe more people will start putting their contacts in their email. We can certainly do live contacts in email, and so there's a push and pull.
I gotta say for Nilay's question, whoever owns my canonical list is whoever gives me the best UI to weed through it.
Right.
And what sucks is that my best UI is the address book, but every time it accidentally or for whatever reason ends up getting synced up with Gmail, it gets totally destroyed, and now so the core list is in the worst interface.
Yeah, I don't know that I have
frustrating.
a contact list anymore. I just have a lot of services that compete.
There's like the first entry in my list is something like ABC I don't even know. Like,
Yeah,
not the TV station, just like ABC Plumbing or something
Yeah,
like
your
that.
contact list is now like a phone book from the 40s.
Yeah, I synced with the Yellow Pages from the 1940s somehow. Oh shoot, I had it. So. Excuse my ignorance, but are you guys pulling in
the internet?
I don't use the internet. And are you guys putting any features in Outlook that are business Outlook style, like meeting invitations or like calendar invites or something that happens to me all the time? Is somebody will send me an email. And then they'll attempt to recall it using an Outlook functionality that obviously doesn't exist.
You mean they'll send the read that message real quickly signal?
Yeah.
Yeah. The drunk.
And then I'll send them the I don't use Outlook signal, which is an email saying, I'm sorry, I read the email.
I'll send them LOL. Wait, but are those features? I mean, that's a frustrating thing for me. I never used Facebook a lot. But I'd get invited to things all the time in Facebook, and so sometimes I would notice them, I'd RSVP, but then that information never makes it onto my calendar. That that never makes it into my address book, like where I'm supposed to go. It's not connected to any mapping service. It's just stuck there in Facebook. Is that something you guys are working on?
Yeah, some of it, yes. Some of it we still have work to do. Like in the case of the Facebook example, when I connect my Facebook account with Outlook, all of the calendar entries on Facebook show up in my Outlook calendar. And one of the things that's important to remember is that Outlook account that I use is also a Microsoft account, which is moving forward what you use to sign into Windows 8 or Windows Phone or Xbox or anything like that. And so when I connect those, that same calendar, that same contact list, is also showing up in the People and Calendar app on Windows 8 or in the Calendar on in Outlook. And so when I'm at work, I have one calendar that is overlapping all my work stuff as well as my personal stuff, whether I put them in there or my wife put them into our shared calendar or they came from Facebook. And so I think we're doing a pretty good job of pushing forward on making the scenario of I want to invite someone to something and they actually get it, accept it, and it's on their phone or wherever they keep their primary calendar. I think there are some things that we can keep pushing the envelope on that Exchange and Outlook do really well, and we'll just keep looking at what do people like the most with the new Outlook desktop app, what do they like the most with the new Outlook.com, and pick the best features and implement them in both.
So actually, I think that's kind of my biggest question is you have an Exchange desktop app, you have an Outlook desktop app. I'm assuming you will have an Outlook desktop app for Metro in Windows 8, and now you have a Metro style web app. Which one is the right one? I mean, which one is the one that people are supposed to use? I guess is the right question.
I think it depends on where you are, what you're using, and what you're doing. And so in my case, for instance, I have a Windows 8 desktop, a Windows 8 laptop, and a Windows 8 tablet.
Do you think you have too many computers?
Yeah, I got issues. And in the case of, I haven't decided to avoid the interwebs this year, so I'm working hard. On my desktop, I use Outlook for both my personal email and for my work email, and I love it. On my tablet, I use the built-in Windows 8 Mail app because it works so great on touch. It's not that Outlook.com doesn't work well on touch, but this thing is just built for the Windows 8 environment, and I love that. And that one has both my Exchange, my work email, my Microsoft.com address, as well as my @Outlook.com email going into it. And then on my laptop, I tend to use Outlook for my work and Outlook.com for my personal, just because I'm used to doing webmail on that machine. And so I think it'll kind of be common that people are just picking what's the best tool for the different device that we're using.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to say that there's one that's best in all cases, because it just wouldn't be true.
Yeah, I mean, I only really use web interfaces for mail when I'm away from my computer. Because to me, email is such a primary thing that I do with a PC that I always want the native experience. So if I'm sitting at my desktop and I'm opening gmail.com in a browser, I'm like, Why didn't I open a mail app? Or actually, you know what I do a lot.
Wait, do you use Spare or do you use what's the one? with
OS
the
10 Mail?
I don't use OS 10
What's the one with the multi
My
logins
God.
but the web interface?
Fluid.
Do you use that?
I do. Yeah. So
But that's a web interface.
it is. So Brian, here's what I do, and tell me if this sounds crazy or if this is possible or smart with the Outlook web app. On OS 10, I use Gmail. We use Google Apps for business, Google Apps for cash money, and I run Fluid on my Mac, which is it breaks out browsers into their own instances. So I basically have one instance open of WebKit for my work Gmail, one for my personal Gmail, one for my spam Gmail that I just use to email Ross. Is that something? I mean, is that something you're going to want like Outlook users to do, or are you going to say, well, we built the native app, why don't you just use the native app? Because to me, that's actually a really common Gmail use case that I see. Everybody at The Verge, except for Paul, who doesn't use the internet, breaks out Gmail into an app because we use Google Apps for Business.
Yeah, but you've kind of had to do that because you had to hack around the fact that otherwise you'd have to sign in, sign out, sign in, sign out, sign in, sign out
Right.
That
to
is
go
true.
from your work to home. And so you're not solving some core email problem by doing that. You're just hacking around how Gmail works.
Yes,
Right.
it is the IR blasters of email
Nilay, have you
solutions.
ever considered using one of Microsoft's fine email products?
I will now. I mean, I think Brian will agree.
In our case,
Go ahead.
in our case, our approach is you use different accounts for work and for home.
Yeah.
And you can either pull them, like I have my work account and my home account going into Outlook for me. Or if I like the web interfaces better, I could be signed into both Office 365 using @Microsoft.com as well as signed into Outlook.com, and I don't have to use something like Fluid in order to create different WebKit instances or whatever.
Right.
I can just be in there in whatever browser I have. And some people will do that. It's amazing to me sometimes now how many people only want to use webmail.
Yeah.
That feels a little, to me, it feels a little backward looking, but but I also like webmail, and so I can get that.
Yeah.
The other hack that people have to do sometimes around Gmail is there's native apps for a given mail service are not good, bad, or anything like that. But people always think, oh, you need a Outlook.com app on iOS. And part of that is conditioned because of the way Google does priority inbox and stars. It doesn't work with any other mail client. And so if you don't have a native Google app, your Gmail app, you're getting a weird Gmail experience. Whereas for us, we've worked hard in order to make sure that we can keep the crap out of your inbox that you don't want, as well as use things like flags, and it will auto-create tasks so that you don't have to have a separate app for it to work the way that you'd expect.
All right. Last question. What's the next move for Outlook?
And what's your favorite thing about Gmail?
Don't listen to Paul. Paul is just, he doesn't get to troll
my
people in
favorite
real
thing
life.
about Gmail- my favorite thing about Gmail is how easy it is to forward into my Outlook account.
Oh, smooth. Brian Hall is smooth.
The things that are out for Outlook.com are, one, we're getting a bunch of feedback, and so you'll see a post from us shortly that's, here's a bunch of stuff that we've heard, here's what we're going to do about it, or here's what the real deal is. And so the feedback's super helpful, and we look forward to getting more of that. We definitely have some fit and finish and clean up and finish the design work that we're going to release. As I mentioned, we'll have a new version of SkyDrive out this month that looks beautiful. We have to do the calendar. The calendar calendar can feel pretty retro when you click over to that. I recommend doing it only once or twice. And then we're very excited to get Skype integrated in.
Right.
And so those are the main things in front of us, but we're going to learn more.
Great. Well, it's really exciting. It's I will say, seeing a company like Microsoft that's going through a huge range of changes abandon a brand like Hotmail and say we're starting over, starting fresh. I mean, Hotmail has a lot of baggage, and to say we're starting over, new interface, new brand, new ideas what email is very exciting. I don't know that you'll pull me away from Gmail just yet. I mean, I have a Gmail addiction problem.
Yeah.
But I've registered. Oh, I have one. I actually have a real last question. Why did you not register Balmer at Outlook.com and do not reply at Outlook.com? What happened there? You were like, let's see what the morons do.
do not reply might have been an oversight. But but the good news is nobody will reply. For the others, at some point you just have to decide that it's not worth trying to outsmart the interwebs. And so you just kind of let things roll.
Yeah, but
And
Ballmer
so
didn't want. Like, did you? Let me ask, did you pick up Brian Hall at Outlook.com before it went live?
I did not.
You did not. Wow.
I have.
Here's Brian at.
Yeah. Excited about.
Yeah.
But I didn't go pick a whole bunch of different variations or anything like that because I got an email address that I wanted and it'll work great.
Yeah, but nobody was ever like, Steve, let's demo the new Outlook for you by creating an account. That never happened. I mean, it's just wild. Have you seen Ballmer on Ballmer? Is that? I bet that's you. Is that you yourself?
I have seen it.
Yeah.
Once again, never try and outwit the interwebs. What I will say is partly less than 100 people probably inside the company knew what we were doing from a branding perspective.
Okay.
And so there wasn't even a internal company only go reserve your names kind of a thing that happened before we released it. When we released it, it was game on.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. I mean, literally our office tried to register everything. Yeah, I have Steve Wozniak. No, I don't. That'd be amazing if I did.
I'm glad,
Do you have elephant names?
Yeah. Well, don't worry. I will troll you from an endless array of Outlook addresses from now until the end of time. Brian, it's been really great having you on, man. Come back soon. Maybe in a year, Paul will be back on the internet. He'll let you know what he thinks about Outlook.com.
I will.
I look forward to that.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Vergecast.
See you, man.
Thanks,
Bye.
That button. All right. What's there's a lot of other news going on. But Brian is great. You should go try it. I'm assuming every usable name has now been taken from Outlook.com. But you should go. I mean, it's cool. It looks really wild. I'm just telling Paul.
Yeah.
It looks really cool. It looks like a really
I saw a
big
screenshot of it in the New York Times. Which, by the way, that's a maybe you guys can help with it. This is a gray area for me.
Yeah.
Like half of both of my newspapers at this point are dedicated to the fact that people at the Olympics use Twitter.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing. And then every night, Ryan Seacrest tells me what everybody's been tweeting. And they apparently the U.S. swimmers did a YouTube video.
They did.
Yep.
And I saw a glimpse of it.
I don't
but
think
then
that's a great
fast
area.
forward.
You don't have to fast forward through NBC.
But they're showing a YouTube video.
That's not you using the internet.
Paul, if you look left, you'll see websites that pop up on
Yeah,
there.
this is
You'll
very
see
true.
my
Oh,
chat room
I
right
looked
here.
away. I looked away.
He does a very good job looking away. Have you
right.
seen? Can I describe to you a video in which young baby goats jump on each other? Because it is the best YouTube video I've ever seen.
Just write down the URL.
At the
Save it for me.
At the end of it, one of the goats jumps on the other goat and does a ninja kick and spins around. It's amazing. Although I will say there are a lot of theories that the one goat's racist. I don't want to get into it. What else happened in news?
Such a downer, no.
I don't know. It's just
This is awesome goat. He's a ninja. Also, he's kind of a racist.
Well, he's not really. He's a goat. He's a baby.
When Ryan Seacrest tells me about YouTube videos on Twitter, he always puts a positive spin on things. Just flashes that $1 million grin and tells me it's going to be okay.
I've noticed his hair is getting taller.
And you just told me
what else
about
happened?
racist goats.
I don't know if the goat's actually her name is Buttermilk. She's adorable.
You know the entire story of this racist ninja goat.
I read a lot of Reddit.
Topic today.
Also,
Apple-
it was on the front page of CNN.com today. So
the CNN
I don't know
headlines
what's going
today were
on there.
amazing.
Yeah. I'm not kidding. It was on the front
that
page.
was so good.
I'm really missing
The
out.
front page of CNN.com today also featured a headline, Facebook, let's face it, sometimes you suck. Which is just, that was the moment in which, and then off in the corner of, on the other, the far left rail, it was Kofi Annan steps down as peace negotiator.
I got to say, the Wall Street Journal just doesn't provide that sort of levity
No.
in the printed edition.
They should always have baby goats, a flip book of baby goats
Nilay.
at the bottom. Yes.
Is your garden hose toxic?
Oh my God, is that really happening?
Snoop, weed, and his new religion.
Snoop Lion. Can we talk about the
let
real
me
news?
tell you
'Cause
guys
I don't want to talk about. You can't look at that, Paul. I mean, the stock photo here is amazing. Face it,
let me
Facebook.
tell you about the
Sometimes you
news.
suck.
Google delayed a device that is some. I always want to call it the Avenue Q, but it's
Well, before we get into that, though,
and the Chinese, the Korean, somebody else threw Badman. Through
This
their
is what you learned in the
badminton.
Wall Street Journal today. Well, we're going to talk about the Nexus Q. I
right.
don't know about
can we talk
blown
about
badminton games.
Can we do that? It's
We'll
really
do it.
interesting.
All right, go ahead.
Snapple? Is that
Snapple.
where we're at? So Samsung
Yes.
and Apple. We're at Snapple.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry about it. Trial started on Monday. We talked about it, sort of the big spool up last week.
Right.
What's going to happen? I think I said it was going to be a circus. I think I actually underestimated how much of an insane circus this trial is going to be.
To be clear, before we get into it, this isn't like just normal trial craziness. Like
No.
I assume like a lot of this stuff is just
This is
standard
about
practice.
as bonkers as I've ever seen it. Like, we saw like Oracle and Google sued each other, and there was a huge trial. They brought in these gigantic personalities. There's Larry Ellison and Larry Page. And Apple and Samsung, they've gotten through maybe 2 witnesses. On the first day, the overflow room at the courthouse had a sign on it that said Apple v. Samsung overflow room, and Samsung objected, filed a motion to demand that the sign also say Samsung v. Apple below it, and they had to amend all the signs on the second day.
Wow, that's
they're at
great.
that
But
level.
to be clear,
are we-
Samsung versus Apple is on the second line. Apple v Samsung is still on top.
They're probably rotating.
Are we
Number one.
there?
We're there. So we have Bryan Bishop on the phone. He is
Oh,
our
dude.
courtroom reporter. Let's bring him on. Bryan,
Yes, sir.
are you being attacked by a dinosaur? Because it definitely sounds like that. What's happening?
Not much. How's it going, guys?
It's going really well. So we're talking about Apple versus Samsung, and you've been there, and I've just been describing a little bit of the craziness that's going on in this trial. But I want to hear it from somebody who's actually been there.
Brian, are you still at the courtroom right now, or are you at home?
No, I'm at the office. I'm at the West Coast office.
Okay.
Court's resuming Friday. It was Monday and Tuesday,
Gotcha.
and then Wednesday and Thursday were gone.
Wednesday and Thursdays were dedicated to Apple and Samsung. Literally, Apple today asked the court to throw out the case and declare Apple the winner. Not even kidding. We'll get into it. So, Brian,
Yeah,
walk
it's
us through
insane.
what happened. What happened Monday was jury selection. What was that like?
Yeah, Monday was jury selection. It was interesting. There was they had I think it was 74 people they brought in, and they had the first pool of jurors, and they asked them a bunch of questions. A lot of different people from interesting different backgrounds. There were some engineers there. There were people that obviously worked in Silicon Valley, including one employee from Apple and one employee from Google.
Wait, just one apiece?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's actually kind
Exactly.
of surprising.
And the best part was they were they were asking, in the first round of questions, they said, here's a list of witnesses. Do you know any of these people? And I think it was the second juror. He's like, yes, I know a couple people. I know Phil Schiller and Scott Forstall. And he's like, oh, interesting. How do you know them? He's like, I work for Apple Incorporated.
That's amazing.
So
Wow.
he got dismissed for economic reasons fairly early on, but the Google employee was actually there until the final round. They kept asking him, Judge Koh, Lucy Koh, the judge for the case, and kept asking him, do you think you can go and try this, without being prejudiced, even though you have stock options with Google, all this stuff? And he said, yes, I think I can. And she believed him. So it basically took to the very last round when both sides could kind of use one of their 4, tries to kick people off until he was finally booted.
Wait, they both have 4 tries?
You get to,
Give me the legal 101 here.
Yeah,
just to make
so
sure I'm not mistaken.
Both sides get to look at the jury. They ask them questions. The judge asks them questions. If the judge senses the conflict, she can get rid of them.
Okay.
And then you get a certain number. The number varies per court, but you get a certain number of you can't. I'm just kicking you off. I don't have to tell you why.
Okay.
So they can. I guess in this court they each get 4.
Got it.
Brian, continue.
Yeah, so that was interesting. It's 7 men, 3 women, and Tuesday they basically started with the opening statements, and a lot of this was, what we kind of expected. Samsung was arguing that, some of the patents that Apple has, either design-wise or utility-wise, aren't valid for various reasons. They showed off a couple examples of prior art for the bounce-back feature when you scroll to the bottom of the list on iOS.
Yeah.
That then later showed up, in Android phones. And Apple basically said, we work really hard. We spend all this money. We create these unique products that are beautiful. And and Samsung basically copied them without doing their own thing. And they showed a slide of Samsung's phones, a selection of their phones in 2006 compared to 2010. 2006, buttons everywhere, QWERTY keyboards, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then in 2010, they're all, slate phones like the Galaxy.
They pulled that
now.
picture like right off of our forums. Like at the bottom, it was like there was like MacFan47 from the Verge forums, and like that was that. No, like that's what that slide looks like. It's almost exactly the same.
So I read about some about this trial in the paper, and the Apple design witness, talking touchingly about the kitchen table that they all designed around.
Of course.
But it really sounded like I do think Samsung has pretty much straight up copied Apple a number of their designs, but Apple's really overselling how desperate and precarious their attempt to enter the phone market, or the idea of making a touchscreen phone, how that was so insane.
Well,
so wild.
I think what they're trying to do, and the story Apple has told over and over again from the beginning to the end, until what the story they're telling at trial now is, this is really hard. And we've revolutionized 2 markets with these products, and it was hard. And we did a lot of work to figure it out. And it's, and how hard it was, and like the dire straits that Apple, we bet the company on the iPhone, all of that stuff, they're building this emotional case.
But business is hard, but when you're trying to argue that something is unique.
They're not arguing, this isn't a bit, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. They're not making a business argument. And Brian, I mean, to me, it sounds like Apple's entire, to me, the sense I'm getting is Apple's entire argument is emotional and artistic, and we just do whatever we can to make the best stuff, and we throw away ideas. And then Samsung's argument is the technical business. We were on this path. Here's our design studies. Here's all the stuff we make.
Everybody was going to make touchscreen.
Everyone was getting here. Is that kind of accurate? I mean, I think that actually plays really well for Samsung.
For the most part, it is. I mean, the only, except for 3 minutes of Phil Schiller, the only witness we've seen from Apple has been one of their designers, Christopher Stringer, who was basically, Johnny Ives' soul transplanted into another human being. It was just like watching an Apple design video in the court. It was very odd.
Was there a white backdrop behind him?
There wasn't, but he was in a beautiful suit and long flowing hair and a beard. It was a very Jesus moment.
Wow.
It was a...
And he had prototypes, right?
He had a whole thing going on.
Did he actually bring prototypes with him, or is it just slides?
No, well, there were prototypes there. He didn't bring them. I think they were part of the evidence. I think Samsung actually had the O35 iPad prototype, which is that big, fat, plastic white one we saw a few weeks back come out in the documents.
Yeah.
And he also had one of the iPhone prototypes that we saw last week. But it was interesting to hear them talk about it, how they go and, they design around a kitchen table, and they, they basically, sketch ideas, and they throw them around, and it's like this, brutal circle of feedback. But the ending, I mean, they basically straight up said that they're, OCD about all this design stuff, which is what you'd expect.
Right.
But what was also interesting, too, is like Samsung, in comparison, said, we'll give customers, whatever they want.
Yes, they will.
In a sense, it's like, okay, if the market moves towards, phones like the iPhone, we'll just give you the iPhone. It's kind of like the logical extension of that argument.
Right.
Well, that doesn't sound great for them.
But the more...
they were couching it as in like we're... Oh, sorry, go ahead, Nilay.
Well, my sense of Samsung's entire argument is if they drag the jury into the weeds of how design patents work and what they actually cover and what the, whether, if they say either way up top that Apple has a patent on a rectangle, that's stupid, or that's fine if they have a patent on a rectangle, but it's not our rectangle. Let's talk about the minutia of our rectangle. At either one of those places, I think Samsung wins.
Right.
Anywhere in the middle, where it's Apple says, well, this is a very special rectangle, and it encompasses all of the rectangles in the world. I think that that's a good argument for the jury. So I think Samsung is trying to kind of play it 2 ways, right? They're playing the very top, which is these are all stupid patents. Look at how different the whole market's going at rectangles. You can't own that idea. And then I think that they're going to drag Apple way down into the weeds of, well, your line, your headphone jack is here and ours is here, so our phones are different. Everybody knows they're different.
How hardcore do you think everybody on the Samsung side is drilling with flashcards in case there's a gotcha moment where they hold up multiple products?
That moment
my
is,
God.
the judge isn't going to do that. That's all over, right? That's like, that was the pretrial phase. But I think So, Brian, let's get into kind of what happened next, because I think what's happening right now with both of these companies is insane. So that was the first day of trial, right? So there was a witness on the stand, a bunch of questions. Let's talk about the process. Samsung got the opportunity to cross-examine the witness. Then Phil Schiller was like 3 minutes, Brian, that they got with Schiller.
Yeah, basically.
He introduced
said
himself.
hello, and that was about it.
Right. So we'll see him again on Friday.
We will. So it's not just like a.
Oh, yeah. They just.
Okay.
What is he being introduced as? Is the guy who's just like he was in charge?
As far as I'm aware, yeah, I'm in charge of marketing, and this is how we built the brand.
Right.
Because, you know, a lot of Apple's argument is
It's confusing once it gets into the store and it's being advertised.
This is how we built this massive brand.
Hey, Creighton, could I get a Diet Coke?
Nice. I like it.
I just
placing an order in the middle of the podcast. I guess I do that all the time. Could I get another one of these guys? Brian, would you like something to drink?
I'll take a water, actually.
If you
That'd be
could
nice.
FedEx out a tonic, that'd be fantastic.
Creighton, don't worry. Get something for yourself.
No. So while this is happening, yeah, Creighton, buy yourself something nice. So while this is all happening, so trial ends on Tuesday, and at the end, it was at the end of trial on Tuesday, right, Brian, that they started arguing?
It was going throughout. It was going throughout the day, basically. There's a number of pieces of evidence that Samsung has wanted to get in, both in its opening statements and the trial in general. There's like a slide that shows, its early design sketches for a phone called the F700. That basically, they were working on before the iPhone, and when it came out, eventually looked similar to the iPhone. That they feel is really important to their case, and basically indicating that they've been working on similar designs before that. And there's also the issue of the Sony-style phone prototype that Apple whipped up that they also want to bring in.
Have you seen this picture, Paul?
They've gone over this.
So, Brian, let me catch Paul up and maybe our listeners on both these things really quick. So, Apple, when they were designing the iPhone, they're pursuing all these different prototypes, and they read a Business Week article. Johnny Ive read a Business Week article about a new Sony Walkman, and the designer of that article said, "We tried to get all the buttons and switches off the face."
Right.
And then he assigned a designer named Shin Nishibori, who now lives in Hawaii.
Ive did?
Ive did, and said, or Ive or Fidel, Tony Fidel might have,
Okay.
one of those two, said, take
Fidel.
one of. It was Fidel. Okay. Take one of our existing designs and make a Sony style design to see what Sony. It's an exercise.
Right.
So he took something called Purple, which was a design that looked pretty much just like the iPhone 4, and they put some like slanty switches on the front, and they put a Sony logo on the back, and they changed it to read Johnny with a J. It's like cute. And
This is the before the original iPhone.
Before the original
Yes.
iPhone came out. So they're just riffing on all these ideas, and they're like, I read this article about Sony, make some stuff about Sony. And then later on during a deposition, Shin Nishibori says that exercise had an impact on iPhone development.
What?
Guys,
I wanted to die.
This is more important.
This
Can
is
you
really-
just.
you guys are
Can you
really,
hold on for a second, Nilay? Brian, hold on. We're trying to
back.
figure out
Hey,
the
Nilay,
drink
they don't have
situation.
any Diet Coke.
Yeah, I gathered.
But here's a Corona.
Thank you. I
Because
really
you get
want-
everything you want.
I
Ever.
do.
Unacceptable.
Sorry, Brian.
Can I have my water?
Here, take this.
Oh,
away.
he wanted a
Ron
water.
Miller. Sorry.
Oh,
man.
so I just got nothing.
Yep.
All right, continue, Nilay.
You chose unwisely.
This is ridiculous.
Ice Pops?
This is what our podcast is always like.
So, and who's bringing this up? The fact that they did a Sony thing. Is Samsung saying this?
So
or is Apple
Samsung
saying-
found this evidence, right?
Okay.
That this all happened, right? And they say we want to include it. Now here's the problem with, and then they want to include these pictures of the F700 to
So it's
show.
like, hey, look, Apple copies too.
Yeah, so
Yes.
it's, hey, look, Apple copies too. And then also this phone called the F700, which was actually announced a month after the iPhone. They want to show that they have their own sketches and prototypes of that phone. The problem is they've had over a year to introduce evidence into this case.
Okay.
Right.
Right? And the rule is basically there are no surprises. It's not television. You don't get a surprise witness at the last minute.
Yeah.
And if you do, it has to go through the judge, right?
So were the Apple guys just screaming objection as the Samsung
Yeah, the
guys
Apple
try to
guys.
pull this out?
The Apple guys objected, and they've objected for months. And Samsung has tried, I think, 10 times. Isn't that what she said, Brian? The judge said you've had 10 chances at getting the stuff in, and we've denied you every time because it's too
Yeah,
late.
and they brought it up about 3 times just this week, I feel like.
Yeah. So it's too late in the process because if you let it in now, Samsung could be lying, right? I mean,
So are they trying to just bring this up so that the jurors hear about it? Even
so here's
though-
what happened. So after 3 times on, and Brian, I'm gonna let you tell the story because you were there, but the rough outline is after all of these attempts to do it, and the judge finally said, "Please sit down. I'm gonna sanction you if you talk about this again." Samsung emailed the press with the rejected slides, and a bunch of outlets ran them, and with headlines like Samsung goes to the public with evidence that the judge has denied, and the judge found out about it. Bryan, can you pick up the story from here?
Yeah, I mean, it was great because in that morning when, the whole sit-down moment, it was John Quinn, who's Samsung's lead attorney for it. Very dramatic display, like when, Coe shot him down, and he was like, what's the point of having a trial? Bringing the full presentation. It was very, very exciting.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, John Quinn is...
it was about...
I mean, he's been, like... There, if you go to his, like, Twitter page, I don't remember what his handle is, but, like... the background is a picture of him like on a mountain bike and the cover of like American Lawyer.
I was just gonna say like some sort of like
he's a monster.
Upscale extreme sport.
Yeah, no, but he's like a super monster lawyer. Like,
that's great.
Anyway,
okay.
Continue, Bryan.
Yeah, so then that email goes out about 2:30 West Coast time, and some stories went up in the meantime. And Coe finds out right at the end of the day at about 4:30 and brings it up, and she is very, very angry, to put it mildly, and basically demands to know where he is, who authorized it, who authored the thing, basically goes off on them, freaking out. We basically get another filing from Quinn later on that evening at Coe's request, basically saying, I authorized it, I did it. The media was asking for it, so we had to go and provide it, and it's already been on the public record. The problem is the media didn't all ask for it. We received that email from them. We hadn't asked for it. We already had the stuff on the site. And it's very clearly like an attempt, it seems, to get that information out there and kind of prejudice the jury.
Yeah,
right.
Well, that's what the judge
Apple,
thought.
Yeah, and so Apple basically wrote her a letter yesterday saying we're going to file a request for sanctions. Later today they filed that at about 1:40 a.m. last night.
Right.
As you said, asking for them to dismiss the trial. And
say Apple wins. No, that's the best part. They're like, not only should we dismiss the trial and sanction Samsung for screwing around, we should just win. Like after all this, after a year,
I love it.
after a year, you're gonna say Samsung released two phones or two pictures of a prototype of a crappy phone, and now we should win the trial. Like,
yes,
it's so over the top, and it's such a circus. It's so far removed from what's actually at issue here.
Is the LG phone at all?
The Prada?
Yeah, is that?
I don't think
involved at
Samsung is
all?
really dying to bring up LG at any moment. We had we did a pre-brief with Samsung before the trial started. Like, what are your strategy? We're talking to everybody to make sure we're getting all the stuff right. And I actually asked him. I was like, I mean, isn't this weird for you that you're in this suit, but sometimes you have this huge competitor in Korea, and they're like, we don't want to talk about LG.
Wow.
But like I feel like the Prada would be the go-to. Like, look, like this is the obvious move.
I think Samsung, they're going to bring up a lot of prior art, like in general, from every company they can. They're not even there yet. I mean, I think that's what I'm hearing from Bryan. Is, every day he's updating us from the courtroom. And Bryan, the sense I'm getting is like, there's a trial about facts to be had, and they do not want to have it. They want to argue about slides that got sent to All Things Digital, and
Can I go back like a step? So, was it intentional? They just did not want to.
No, it's definitely. They sent it to us. They sent.
No. But like during that year-long process, they're like, we found this. We don't want to submit it because it's gonna make a great first day, show of entertainment. Like, why didn't they just?
No, I mean,
within
look,
that year?
Quinn Emanuel, John Quinn is the managing partner of a giant law firm called Quinn Emanuel. Like, he knows what he's doing.
Okay.
I don't.
So it just wasn't found late in the game.
Well, I don't know because Samsung has also been sanctioned by this court like 4 times for a variety of stuff. You get the feeling that there's Quinn Emanuel, which is very good at what they do.
Right.
And then they're interfacing with Samsung, which is a little bit chaotic, which makes sense because it's an enormous company. Last thing I got sanctioned for was they were destroying evidence. They were not on purpose. No. They just have all their email servers are set to delete emails after 2 weeks, and they forgot to turn it off.
Right.
After they've been in litigation with Apple for like a year. And it's like, it's like literally like you just walked off the cliff. Like someone was like, dude, cliff, the cliff is coming. It's like, oh crap. Like,
yeah,
it's like that level of like kind of.
But they're sanctioned for this, but I mean, case be it, those emails no longer exist. They can't be used against them, so they deal with the sanction. But that does help their case. Is that fair to say?
I mean, it's not a good. Both these sides don't seem to care that. And Bryan, correct me if I'm wrong here. It seems like Lucy Coe is pissed that this trial is taking place and that she has to like do it. Or is that the right? Like, it seems like she's
she's having to babysit. Yeah, there's like a lot of, I mean, she's basically holding them strictly to the letter of the law, which is great because it could spin out of control and everybody's going over the top. I mean, both sides, I feel like it's just a land grab. They're trying to get, every inch that they can to help, leverage themselves in their cases. But at this point, she's just annoyed that it's, that these games are still going on. And they are games at this point. It's pretty ridiculous to have, basically these, same claims about this evidence come up, 3 times within 2 days. To the point where she has to, tell John Quinn to sit down or she's going to sanction him straight up. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, that's
totally insane.
That's ridiculous. I mean, because if you guys don't know, Bryan covered the Goracle trial for us and exactly was there every day. And that to me seemed very orderly in comparison. It was a lot of big personalities on the stand, but the lawyers weren't screwing around as much. There wasn't this air of like really I mean, it was combative, but it wasn't this messy. Is that right? Is that the sense that you're getting?
Yeah, it was puppies and sunshine in comparison. It was just totally chill and mellow and yeah.
Wow.
What would make a lawyer decide that they need to be over the top and insane like this instead of puppies and sunshine?
Well, there's the question. I mean, if this thing goes bad, right? Should Samsung lose, they're going to appeal. All this kind of stuff, is in the record. All these, objections that they're raising, Quinn's outburst, all that stuff's going to be in the record. So they do want to appeal this. They can go and say, oh, we were prejudiced by because this stuff didn't get in. I mean, what do you think about that, Nilay? There's like an interesting aspect of it to there in terms of how they think their case is going to go, I think.
No, I think they definitely want to. I think Samsung's first objection is going to be the jury was tainted because they didn't know about the Samsung F700. Right. Which is fine. That's the strategy. If your winning strategy is the Samsung F700, then I would encourage everyone at Samsung.
This would happen in the appeal.
Yeah, the appeal would be they should have seen the F700 and then everything is invalid because we win. Right. If that's your winning strategy, and you should go, I ran a post in the F700 a year ago when this case was filed because Android fanboys were sending me pictures left and right of it. That phone is 4 times as thick as the first iPhone. It's a QWERTY slider. It has a resistive, it's different. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's a rectangle, right, with rounded corners, but it is appreciably different. I don't know why Samsung is so desperate to show that phone to the jury. Because if you hold up the F700, the iPhone, and then a Galaxy S, you're like, oh, Samsung stopped doing that, and they started doing the other thing. Right. And it's plain as day. It's like, oh, that's what they made instead. The F700, the operating system is called Croy, which is it came out in the United States as the Verizon Glide. All right? Do you remember spelled with a Y? That's how little respect Samsung had for this device.
Of course it was. Of course it was spelled with a Y.
It's just funny. It's you cannot hinge your case on the world's crappiest phone. Mm-hmm. And that's what it was. It was one of those phones. The first iPhone came out, and everyone said, why would anybody want a touchscreen phone? This is a terrible experience. We've tried it over and over again. You need a keyboard. You need a D-pad. You need a stylus. Because touchscreens suck. Mm-hmm. The Samsung F700 is the paradigm example of a crappy touchscreen phone with all this other cruft around it to make the touchscreen experience mitigate the touchscreen experience. It is the first Palm. It's the first Trio. You remember the first Trio? That's bad. And all of those devices, the history of those devices.
It was a wonderful device. I don't like you saying.
You know what they put on the Trio to make it work? They put a keyboard on the Trio.
Yeah.
And they stopped selling the full touch Trios because it was a bad experience. I'm just saying, if Samsung wants to spend a lot of time talking about the F700, they can do it. It's the right. I think it's a crappy argument. It was a crappy argument a year ago. It's a crappy argument now. And I don't know why they're wasting all this time when they should be making a much better argument about the state of the industry. Right. And they should make a much better argument about this is the argument they're making. Apple has a bunch of patents, a bunch of trade dress, but our brand is strong too. We're Samsung. We make everything else in your home. Mm-hmm. Right. If you
we make rectangular TVs.
We make rectangular TVs.
Washing machines.
It's like they don't have they're looking for this escape clause with this crappy phone.
Yeah, a little gotcha.
Yeah, and it's dude, you're Samsung. Have the confidence to be Samsung and say, our brand is really strong. And when people walk into a store and they buy a black phone that says Samsung, they are not necessarily confused and thinking they bought a white phone that says Apple.
Is that the lawyer's misunderstanding where Samsung is at?
I don't know.
Or is that Samsung misunderstanding where they're at?
I'm dying to know. Because all of this effort expended over the F700 is somebody is making that decision. And it's like, why would you piss off the judge over and over and over again about something that clearly doesn't matter? Is it just to poison the media? Is it just to set up your appeal? Are you that confident you're going to lose? I don't know. I mean, I don't know, and I'm dying to figure out why.
What were you going to say, Brian?
It feels like, from this point, I mean, it feels like a pattern, an overall pattern in terms of their legal strategy. There's been, several other items that they disclosed earlier. They didn't say if they're going to, how they wanted to use them. And they're now getting kicked out in a certain regard. Like the 2001 Space Odyssey, example, they wanted to go and use to argue that the iPad patents were invalid. And that's gotten kicked out. But they introduced the evidence, to Apple in 2011 as part of the background of the industry. And now they say, oh, no, we want to use it for this argument. Why they were so unclear a year ago is what's really strange. And same with the discovery stuff on the F700. They seem to be making a lot of radical changes in the last minute with their strategy and then getting really, really angry when they're not being accepted.
But no, we want to change our minds.
Yeah, and is that just, it reads like sloppiness.
Right.
I don't know if there's been different things behind the scenes that are causing that, but it doesn't put them in a good light, obviously. Co's getting super pissed. And it just makes things seem really hairy.
How is the jury reacting to all this stuff? I mean, I think that was one of the most interesting things about the Oracle trial was there was what we saw reported, and then there's kind of like what they got really deep in the weeds of patents in that trial. They got really deep in the weeds of copyright law, and the jury was like, it was in it. It was really a part of the trial. It felt like a character. Thus far, the jury is like, there's so much other noise that I'm not getting that sense. So what's going on with the jury?
I mean, it's hard to tell at this point. They're pretty. I mean, it was the same with the Google Oracle trial. They started out, pretty stone-faced and just listening intently, and there hasn't been, except for the opening, the opening statements, there hasn't been a ton to get into to really have them react to. Obviously, Apple made this huge emotional appeal with Stringer on Tuesday, which on one level, for us is fascinating because it's a look into their design process and some examples of things we hadn't heard about or seen before. It didn't seem like the jury was, rapturously in love with the Apple brand or anything, which is great. It's what you want. You want an impartial jury.
Yeah.
Right. But also it speaks to how are things going to play out, because Samsung can make their case. They are going to have to go in the weeds. They're going to have to break things down. They're going to have to talk about how round the corners are to differentiate. And that's going to get really granular. And how the jury responds to that is going to be, the dividing line here, because if they can get behind that, buy that, then they're okay, because there's a huge line between the emotional argument that you copy, which is easy for Apple to make just by showing two devices side to side, whether it meets the legal standards of infringement or patent validity, totally different thing.
Right. Well, Brian, we're going to be on this podcast every week for the next month.
Can I just say I'm so excited to not be talking about patent arguments in theory, but like
it's happening.
Yeah.
Fisticuffs.
I mean, this is
the magic is here.
This is the trial of the decade.
I'm not
even. I mean, like this is. We're gonna be talking about this for the next 5 years, because it's gonna appeal and appeal and appeal and appeal.
Some poor, unfortunate law student is just gonna be reading Apple v. Samsung.
Without question.
And taking tests and just
of their mind. This case will have an impact. It will change patent law. It will change trademark law. It will change. It's gonna just change it. And then Apple can sue Samsung again.
The thing is, if they rule in Samsung's favor, are these patents invalidated for everybody?
It depends on what the jury rules.
Okay.
There's two things, right? You can rule that the patents are valid and not infringed, or you can rule they're invalid.
Got it.
So there you go. Brian.
And this isn't the only one. We obviously have the next one next year about the Galaxy Nexus and the S3.
Oh, right. Yeah, the Nexus and the S3 aren't even involved. And that trial is the Android trial. So this trial is the Samsung copied us with their phones and devices and how they work trial. That trial is Samsung makes devices that run stock Android that copy everything.
What about the tablets? When do the tablets
factor? The Tab 10.1 is in this trial.
Yeah.
That trial or this
current trial.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Brian.
Awesome.
Always a delight,
Thank you
man.
so much.
And what the listener doesn't know is that Brian is also extremely handsome.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So just reimagine that whole
Seriously.
conversation coming out of like a Robert Redford looking dude. Is that what
Brian,
is that what you look like?
I'll get that.
Brian and I had a delightful.
Aaron Eckhart, is that what you said?
Oh yeah.
That's what I like to go with.
All right. All right. Brian's ego is now getting the better of him.
Awesome.
All right, Brian, we're going to let you go. We'll talk to you again next
Just
week.
like to say, Brian and I had a delightful phone conversation the other day, and Brian, I'm still glowing from all the humorous anecdotes.
Brian, I'm
we
going to hang
shared
up
with
on you.
each other.
This is getting weird. Hanging up. Bye, buddy. All right, we're done. There's more stuff to talk about.
Yes, 20 minutes. We got blast through 4 more topics.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
We do this.
Creighton's not the boss of you.
Yeah, Creighton. But there's a camera.
He can write.
Do you know
Let's-
there's
Yeah,
a
we
camera
installed
on the
the camera
control
in
board
today.
today,
through the topics.
so everybody can see you
That doesn't mean
doing
you-
this stuff. And Creighton has avoided the camera the entire time.
Wait, here we go. Here we go.
Oh my God, Craig Cam.
Caught in the act. Caught in the act of trying to dictate.
By the way, can we get a Craig Cam lower third? Is that possible? That's my life. All right, Ross.
All right.
Stop wasting time on the Craig Cam.
Hey,
We
why
will
don't-
go
cut
longer
to
than 20
Ross.
minutes.
Ross,
We will do this.
Let's burn through the topics.
Let's burn through these topics.
Yeah.
First one on the list: Apple event on September 10th, 12th.
God, more Apple.
September
They're gonna put out a
Apple.
new
It's an iPhone.
You think
Yeah,
it's an iPhone?
It's an iPhone.
All right.
Cool. Next.
Bigger screen.
Well, maybe.
Is it gonna look like this crappy phone that we're seeing everywhere?
I hope not.
'Cause
Because I'm really sick of the iPhone 4 design. Like, I need
Yeah.
to move on past
Wait,
this.
I'm
it's going to
convinced-
look like the iPhone 4?
Yeah, there's this
These renders keep coming out. That's like,
and like case designers keep doing this thing where it's like a longer iPhone 4.
that's it. Yeah, it just looks like a taller iPhone 4.
It looks real
I
bad.
want like a slanted. For some reason, this has been stuck in my head. Maybe it was a rumor a while back, but like a
the
slant.
teardrop.
Yeah.
This
Yes.
wasn't.
A slanted.
You've been off the internet for 4 months,
Uh-huh.
and you forgot that this rumor started because Josh made a render for This Is
Yeah.
My Next. That's what you're thinking of.
Man, I want that phone with a metal back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I want that. Oh gosh.
That'd be cool. I'm hoping they make a big change. I'm hoping that all the stuff we're seeing now is like literally Tim Cook and Johnny Ive are like in like Ive's basement with like a beer.
Just trolling.
Yeah, they're like, let's go on the forums, man. Like they're the ones who run like madeinchina.com.
Wait, well, the designers stand around the kitchen table, and then the trolls are on the counter,
Do you think
shipping out the photoshops.
exactly? No,
Scott Forstall is just there with like taking shots.
Do you
like,
think-
dude,
Right.
hear me out.
no.
Let's
It's
put
like
a
Apple
keyword
has
on
like
this
a
one.
secondary ghost team of designers, like the troll designers.
How great would that job be?
That would be
designer
amazing.
for
Like
Apple.
taking it really seriously,
Yeah.
and you're like kind of in talks with the real design team, but you're like, no,
Yeah.
don't tell me the
Yeah.
actual thing.
Well, no, they have to know a little bit because what if they accidentally get it right?
Yeah.
And then
But
leak
at
the
s-
right thing.
Right, but at the same
incorrectly.
time, like the design team, it's kind of on them to lie to the fake design
yeah.
team so to keep them guessing.
This is a real like political intrigue right here.
Oh,
I like it.
man.
All right, moving on.
Moving on. All right. Windows 8 hit release to manufacturing, the RTM status, which means it's pretty much done.
It's done. But
It's done.
But there's another really wild piece of Windows news.
Yes.
So that's really awesome. Windows 8. I think the bits will be
Yay.
hitting TechNet next week or so.
Something like that. All
So
the
people are
OEMs
gonna-
are getting it.
People are going to start getting it. I think we're going to start seeing a bunch of devices kind of start leaking out.
Right.
Microsoft is, as far as I can tell, keeping a really tight rein on manufacturers because they want to do a big launch in October. But as soon as
of the Microsoft Surface tablet.
of the Microsoft Surface tablet, I think that this is what I'm saying. They're trying to keep a tight lid on Windows 8, even though it's going out to OEMs, it's going out to developers. You can just download it on TechNet,
Yeah.
right? But I think the OEMs are going to start showing off stuff pretty surreptitiously very soon because they're pissed about Surface.
Right.
So that's exciting for us because we're going to see a bunch of gadgets. What's more interesting is a piece that Tom Warren put up just as we were sitting down.
Right. And
that I literally
you've read this,
approved
you've
over
edited this,
email
yes.
in the cab on the way here. Microsoft is telling developers, and they're saying, don't call it Metro style applications. Don't say Metro. They're Windows apps. Metro that was our development name for this UI and this set of interface concepts.
Right.
Now just say Windows, which is fascinating on like a variety of reasons. Tom believes, and we have sources who are saying that the reason for this is that there's a trademark dispute in Germany with a company called like Metro AG, I believe. This literally just went out 20 minutes ago. I'm sorry
Right.
if I'm not deep on the facts. So there's this lingering trademark dispute noise that I think we're going to dig up as much as we can on. But in general, it seems like that's a really good idea for Microsoft because what we've been asking them to do for months is split up Windows, the desktop, from Metro, the UI, and then call the Windows RT tablets Metro tablets, right? And call this thing Metro.
Right.
What Microsoft is doing now, it seems, is saying, well, no, we're not doing that. We're this Metro-style apps. We were just letting our developers know what they're doing. We agree that that's a bad name, and we're going to unify the names like you want us to, but we're going to pick Windows to unify around because
Okay.
that's our
Right.
brand. I think all of that is crazy. It's particularly crazy if there's a lawsuit behind it.
Right.
But we don't know yet.
So
But
there's an update to this. Mary Jo Foley over at ZDNet. You know, we
GIF.
just had her. We love her. She's
don't-
reporting.
That was a weird phrasing, Ross.
But we had her.
Yeah.
Had her on the show.
There you go.
Thank you.
Majif.
Look, I'm trying to be quick here. We're trying to burn
Go.
through topics.
Yeah,
I'm burning
we don't
through
have
words.
to listen to him. Just because he has a camera now doesn't mean he has power.
'cause
He is
has
not a camera.
Just because he has a
He has a
tablet,
camera.
like with a stylus.
You know,
Yeah.
it's not an HTC Flyer. How are you feeling?
He's-
Mary Jo Foley is reporting
Majif.
on a, quote, possible copyright dispute with some other entity.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know what. But it seems to more or less corroborate what Tom is saying.
I'm not worried about the copyright. I just think it's so important for whatever Microsoft does in the next year. It's just to do decisive stuff.
yeah.
Just to have the balls to do
Balmers.
like the
Balmers.
Balmers.
We can all go. We don't need to be a part of this anymore.
Good work.
It was a good podcast today.
I appreciate this. Thank
All
you.
right, go ahead.
No,
Okay.
shake your head, whatever.
Dude, you can't Miller.
Yeah,
Miller.
no, I like the Surface,
Millerception.
but just I'm already because I've just been so bugged and just so confused by if they're making a tablet operating system that also runs on laptops, or are they making a laptop operating system that also it's just I don't know.
Well-
I don't know what they're doing, and so if every time that they're just completely clear, every time that they don't spend 2 hours at build
Yeah.
explaining something, but instead explain something in one sentence
Right.
is a win for Microsoft.
Right. So if they're just calling it, this is Windows.
Yep.
But the problem is, and they have been messaging to the press and to consumers and everyone. Here's Windows. You make a motion to start.
Right.
You just kind of go over here, and then you Metro, right? And it's like,
Have they been saying? I don't remember them saying Metro
well,
out loud a lot.
they're saying Metro style applications.
Yes.
For the new start screen in Windows 8 or Windows RT.
Well, maybe it's going
But
to
to
be Windows style
whom?
now.
Like
To
it's not-
everyone.
It's not like they were running TV commercials like, "Hey, check
No,
out our new Metro style app."
Like every
but
media
they sat
event,
me
they've been
down
doing
in
this.
Barcelona
Yeah.
and spent an hour talking about the brilliance of Metro style.
So I want
Nilay,
to I want to really quickly.
What you think doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
It's what Joe the plumber thinks.
Dude, you've got to get back online and find new humor.
Do you think Joe the Plumber is going to make a reappearance during this election
Yes,
cycle?
Joe,
absolutely.
Is it Joe Plumber or Joe the plumber?
Joe the Plumber.
Joe the Plumber. All right, so news just broke, so this is fun to actually
Oh,
do.
good.
The final copy of Windows 8 just leaked online. Tom just put this up.
So Tom is furiously downloading
Of course it did.
Yes, he is.
I'm sure.
Tom's-
I'm sure.
So it's
one
out
of
there now.
One of these many kind manufacturers.
I
There
bet
it is.
that
This is
Tom's
gonna be
at his
so much
house,
fun.
he's got one router downloading it, and he bought another router, and his wife is
The
trying to send an
race is
email. and
on.
He's like, no, honey, I'm downloading Windows. No, sorry.
Because Tom talks like this.
Tom, that's a really posh act. Tom once
it's a David
explained to me
Attenborough.
the
what?
difference between a
You know,
posh
at
British
least when
accent
I'm off
and
the
a
internet,
North
I
and
know
South.
when I should try to make British accents and when I should just leave well enough alone.
Do you? Do you?
Well, you'll never
Can
know.
we call Tom? Get Tom on the phone. If he's putting posts on the website,
He's
he
alive.
can
He's
put
awake.
words on the stream.
Yeah.
Words on the stream.
Words on a stream. He's in
Dude,
chat. I'm looking at
this
him.
guy's downloading Windows 8 right now. Do you think he's got Skype bandwidth right now?
Okay, well, while we're waiting for Tom, let's get to the last two topics, and then
Yeah.
we'll end with Tom.
Let's burn through these
Burn
last two
through
topics.
them. All right, Digg.com is back, version 1.0.
I'm not talking about Digg.
Good, next. Nexus Q got delayed.
All right. Do you want to talk about Digg?
Wait.
care,
Just tell me what happened.
Okay.
Or Jordan, okay.
They put the original
I'll talk about Digg
back
for
up?
Jordan, who was one of our brilliant video
Yes.
producers. So no, they did not put the original Digg back up, which
Jordan's
is
not here.
no.
but he's listening.
Jordan loves Digg.
We're not playing Where's
Listen to
Jordan.
me,
He's not there.
Internet boy.
can't
Internet
find
boy is
him.
the wrong phrase for you.
It's the exact opposite of any phrase
Cloud
you could possibly
disabled.
use.
Cloud disabled.
That
That's
sounds
what you
really
How about
offensive.
offline man?
offline. All right. Look. So Digg was failing, huge disaster.
Yeah.
Nobody uses it. Kevin Rose works at Google now.
Yes. So
and-
BetaWorks, which owns I think it's a
It's an incubator.
Yes.
They're a startup incubator in New York. That's where Chartbeat is, and there's other stuff there.
and there's a company there's news.me, which is like this kind of social aggregator. They look at articles that are liked over Twitter, Facebook, shared, and they try to figure out a good algorithm. They've
It's
taken that.
Flipboard.
It's basically Flipboard. They've taken that, they've added a voting system, and they're calling it Digg.com. Basically, you took
And-
all of Digg's code and just started afresh.
No,
Or
they
took
threw
it
away
out.
Digg's code.
Threw it out.
away.
And they started.
They took
Can you
news.me.
still dig things?
You can still dig
Yes.
things,
Like
but
with
they
a button.
Literally have rebuilt the entire site. So all the old Digg comments are gone. All the old Digg data is gone.
Dig
all the
bar is
links.
gone.
The Digg bar is gone. So they're calling it Digg version 1, which you are not the first person to confusingly be confused and say
I was like, oh,
they
they're
just
gonna go,
reverted
like,
it back
totally
to the first version of Digg.
How cool would that be?
Not cool.
No.
What if it was like a greatest hits and it just started from day one of Dig?
I got Tom Warren.
Cool.
Hold on. So anyway, Digg is back. It's
Yeah.
Digg. Tom,
Tom, what do you think of Digg?
No.
Tom,
What do I think of Digg?
right? Tom, how many copies of Windows 8 are you downloading right now?
Well, I'm not downloading any. That would be highly illegal.
Tom,
Oh,
Good answer.
Look at that
as
guy.
your
Very
counsel,
good
I
answer.
approve of your answer, Tom. Even though there are no laws in Great Britain, there's only the Queen's law.
Is that how it works? If you're in a Wi-Fi hotspot on the grounds of a palace, you can do whatever
The
you
Queen's
want?
law fails. No, it was Wi-Fi stooping the Queen. All right, Tom.
I've been on Greg less than a minute with British jokes already.
Tom, let me ask you: Is it
I
or
didn't
is it
understand
not?
any of the words you just said. Can you try that again?
Is it or is it not a common pastime for British youth to war dial the Queen?
Well, if you're to the Olympics, apparently it is.
Yeah, right. With the Wi-Fi guns. Anyway, that
They
is
have
it.
like Wi-Fi police.
They have Wi-Fi. Do you know this at the Olympics? You're not allowed to have your own Wi-Fi hotspot.
Yeah.
You're supposed to use the paid hotspots.
Yeah, I'm sure
they
that's
have,
working great.
They have giant guns in the shape of red arrows
Yes.
that find illegal hotspots.
And not like bone arrows, literally like a cartoon
No
arrow.
way, that's
Yeah,
great.
It's ridiculous.
All right, dude,
I'm
that's so
actually going
cool.
to the Olympics tomorrow night, and I've asked as many people as I can to get as many Wi-Fi hotspots. So I'm just going to turn them all on. See if
What-
they
what-
find-
You're trolling the Wi-Fi police.
What event are you going to go see?
volleyball.
Wow. Beach
Not
volleyball?
beach volleyball.
What is this?
Indoor.
We have a man on the ground at the Olympics, and you want me to hurry up?
I gotta say, indoor volleyball is really exciting.
It's super. You know,
It's surprisingly good. I
Becky
had
used
no
to play
idea.
volleyball in high school, and she gets super jacked when volleyball is on at the Olympics.
Really?
Yeah, it's frightening, to be honest with you. Tom, let's talk about Windows 8. Tom, yo, I like that's Tom's street voice.
Yeah.
Yo, Tom, can you do all the rest of this
Yo.
in an American accent?
Sorry?
Can you do an American accent? Can you say hello? My
If
name
you
is
do
Tom
this in an
Warren,"
American accent, we'll
in
have
an
Nilay
American
do it in a
accent?
very bad British
I
accent.
will not do that, but I want to hear the American accent.
Nilay would like to set you with this story, and could you spike it?
Oh God. All right, Tom, would you just like to talk about Windows 8 in whatever accent you choose? Be it American, comical Italian, whatever you want to do.
Russian?
Russian.
Russian, do it.
Vlad. Vlad
Russian
is
would
his
be
own
appropriate,
category of
considering
accents.
That's where this leak is from.
Oh, it's from. Okay, so what's going on with this leak, and what's going on with Metro?
Yeah, so we're hearing that basically Microsoft's advising their developers to not use the word Metro in their apps. So in any documentation or in the actual app name or even when they refer to like the Metro style interface. So they're asking them to I think there's a mix. Some people are saying they're asking them to say Windows 8 style. But we're hearing that it's like the new interface that they're asking people to refer to.
The new interface?
So, I mean, that's to me what suggests that there was a lawsuit behind this. That there isn't a. Because going
Yeah,
from
there's
Metro
something-
style
something's
to
gone-
Windows
something's
8
wrong.
style is not good.
Like they had Arrow back in the day. They've always had names for their new looks.
Yeah, and they're saying that it was a code name, but if it was a code name, they're using it in all their documentation on MSDN. It was never a code name. It was something that was widely used, you know?
Well, it could have been a
so-
code name, but MSDN is for developers, right? That's not for the world. I mean, that kind of makes sense. I mean, we don't
But all
know.
the documentation gone out is all like build a Windows 8 Metro style application. And that's how they've always referred to it, and they've never made any indication in the past that they were going to use that name as a code name.
Yeah, but
It was always assumed that was the final.
for all we know, they were like somebody at Microsoft, like Steven Snofsky, woke up and was like, "Guys, we're calling it Windows 8 Metro style applications." That's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
But they didn't come up with something
what we
cleaner,
said-
you know.
Yeah, what we heard is that there's a complaint from a German company, and basically it's not like they're saying we're going to sue you. It's just that there's a sort of dispute over it. So I don't think it's got to that stage, but that's what we're hearing. And I think it's fairly recent. So Microsoft's starting to sort of push that out to internally and to their sort of high up developers. So.
Right. So let me ask you this: so the RTM came out, the bits are leaking, and one thing we were just talking about is Microsoft is trying, as far as I can tell, trying to really lock down OEMs and partners from seeing Windows 8 before October 26th, before they can have a launch and before they can do Surface. But my sense from OEMs is that they're going to start kind of showing a bunch of stuff very soon. IFA's right on the corner, right? And I think we're going to see a bunch of stuff, a bunch of like products that kind of dilute Surface because they don't want to get pushed away from Surface. Is that kind of a sense you're getting too? I mean, that's just kind of me, just hearing some stuff.
Yeah, we've seen like bits and bobs of Windows 8 laptops and tablets, but it's mainly been Intel-based ones, right? We haven't we've seen the Asus one, which they haven't really given pricing or availability on. So similar to Surface, but I don't know whether we're going to see Windows RT tablets on October the 26th. I don't know. I mean,
really?
I think that's the plan.
What about the Surface? We'll see the Surface, the ARM Surface, right?
Yeah, I mean, the first Surface that comes out is Windows RT, and then the Intel one comes sort of 3 months, or they said 90 days after, so 3 months.
Oh, okay.
Wow. So they're putting all their development resources behind the RT one. Because that, to me, that's the product that has to be a success.
Yes.
Is that something that could get delayed?
Head-to-head with the iPad, right?
Yeah, right.
So you back your life and the form factor and all the rest of it.
Right. Okay, well, go ahead.
That they could possibly be delayed in any sort of way. It's just the reason. It's just the way that Microsoft isn't actually saying, these are definitely coming on October 26th. They said in a filing the other week that I think it was like they said at this time, referring to Windows 8 launch, they'd start selling the Surface. So I'm not sure if they'll be there day one, but I think they've got a lot of work to do over the coming months to make sure that Windows store they've got has a lot of Metro apps in it. Windows 8
style, the artist formerly known as Metro.
Well, I just wonder how solid are they on that ARM ship date? I mean, that they're taking they've never shipped Windows on ARM before. They've never. I don't know when have they ever shipped a
If
computer.
I was Microsoft, I would be pushing that ARM. That would be number one.
No, obviously they're trying very, very hard.
Pulling engineers
but
off
I just
the Xbox.
that sounds like there's a bunch of unknown variables that could totally screw them up.
Did you actually, Tom? Did you see? Can I? Let me before.
Let's hear from the expert.
I want to add one more piece.
This
of
guy's
information.
calling all the way from London. We don't even know what time it is over there.
I had no idea.
NBC wanted us to talk to him at 8 p.m. tomorrow.
That's terrible. No, Tom, before you answer, I just want to add one more piece of information to this mix, which is, do you see the post on Charlie Kindle's blog talking about how nobody at Microsoft knew about the Surface and knew that they were building this piece of hardware, and that his friends on the Xbox team, who are the hardware at volume supply chain experts, they're not involved. So he's like, Microsoft, this is like typical Microsoft siloing of divisions, where you didn't say, you guys built the Xbox, you're now, I think he called them battle seasoned.
Yeah.
You didn't come help us build this piece of...
That's not an easy slam dunk thing. It's never, for anybody, an easy thing.
And Charlie Kindle, he was on the... I mean, he's from Microsoft.
It wasn't an easy thing for Microsoft.
So, Tom, now that I've slip-streamed this information, and now tell us what's going on.
Yeah, so in terms of the ARM stuff, I think the only chip that we're seeing that they've got right is the NVIDIA one. So we're only going to... I think Asus has got the Tegra in it, so from what I've heard is that they're having issues optimizing the Qualcomm and the TI chips for Windows RT. So that is why we're not seeing sort of a broad array of Windows RT devices right now. And it makes sense. We saw it at Computex. It wasn't great on those other chips, and it seemed to run fairly well on the NVIDIA one. So
I mean, that's what
in
happens with
terms of, like,
Android.
But the vendors get really involved with Android.
Yeah, but like Google designs it for one ARM chipset, and then other people have to sort of port it over. And
Yeah.
Right. Oh, Android.
Oh,
You so crazy.
okay.
Tom,
In terms of,
is there anything else we need to know before we let you go to the Olympics? Because that's all anyone in London is doing right now.
but no, he had a part two
Oh, you had a part 2. Do you have a part 2?
before I interrupted him.
No, you guys were talking about how they sort of developed the Surface and stuff. I think it was a surprise, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's an approach that they're going to try and replicate because they've been on lockdown for a lot of stuff recently.
Yeah.
So I think the Surface was like, oh, hey, look, no one leaked the name and what it's going to look like and stuff. So let's try and do that in the future.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely an approach that they're going to continue to try and take. So we might be seeing some more surprises from them. Who knows?
Yeah. Well,
Wait,
is that a hint? Do you know what the
do we
surprises
know-
are? Can you tell me? You have to tell me.
Huh?
it's
What
the
are the
law.
surprises?
Surprise.
Yeah. Do you know? Give me some hints. What are some surprises?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there'd be any immediately, but I think there'd probably be some related to the Xbox stuff.
Yeah.
Certainly around the new hardware, right?
I definitely believe
I
that.
think we're going to see some surprising stuff there.
Have we heard
Yeah,
anything more about the Xbox since I left the internet?
No.
Oh shoot.
No. That's all. It's all the same.
I think we've only seen very like minor details, and a lot of those details are quite old as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they're further along with their glasses and the whole Xbox Surface tablet and stuff,
Do you think the
if
Xbox
those things-
could run Windows RT?
That'd be a terrible idea.
yeah,
Do you think it could run
I think
Outlook.com?
what they'll do with the Xbox is they'll have the standard console, and then
I'd
they're
like to
just
know.
going to have something that competes with your Apple TV and those sort of devices.
Yeah.
So there'll be an ARM-based sort of Xbox. They'd be insane not to do that.
All right.
All right, Tom. Any other surprises from?
Microsoft land?
No, but yeah.
I think the next stuff
the
is
UK
gonna be Windows Phone 8 stuff.
Where?
Windows Phone 8.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that seems like
that's
another radical. Like they've got to do some stuff. They've got to make their own hardware for that too. That's my guess.
Yeah, I think there's got to be some surprises in there that we don't know about because at the moment it seems good. It seems like a great step, but I'd like to still see that it catches up with like iOS and Android in terms of features.
I mean, I guess they have Nokia to make their own hardware. They don't have to really do it. They can just tell Stephen Elop what to do because he doesn't have a choice. All
I
right.
guess that could be a potential surprise actually if Nokia get Windows Phone 8 like a month, if they bring out a device a month before other OEMs, which
Yeah.
is kind of the rumor at the moment that they're going to announce in early September.
Right. And then Samsung will be like, it doesn't matter.
I like this. Is like the war on the OEM.
Yeah.
Has anybody written that headline and read yet? In like a very large font.
I'll get on it.
The war on the OEM.
This is why you should just be around. I should talk to you every day, Paul. All right, Tom, we're going to let you go. As always, we love you. Enjoy
Okay.
the Olympics.
How are you coping with the disappointment in men's synchronized diving?
Are we ever going to let Tom go to sleep? Tom, are you truly disappointed?
And those guys, they're pretty good.
I missed that part.
Something about swimming.
I was saying I've been watching Michael Phelps swim
Oh yeah.
in real time.
But he's from America.
I know, so he's like your
This is
great.
Tom. I'm gonna hang up on you because I literally do not know what's going on, and Paul is just now naming countries and demanding that you be a patriot. So goodbye, Tom. This has been lovely,
See ya.
or should I say lovely?
Cheers.
I just hung
Oh
up on
my
him.
God.
Lovely.
Lovely.
Sorry.
The
All right,
bits and the bobs.
Paul. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Bits and Bobs, by the way. was
Bits and
amazing.
Bobs.
If we had podcast titles, this would be called Bits and Bobs.
Bitsandbobs.com.
It's been taken for.
Yeah.
I mean, I've owned that for like 20 years.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on our list?
That's it.
That's it.
The outro.
Really? That's
Right.
hard to believe.
Paul, what's going on with you? What's happening?
It's not using the internet at all.
I'm literally just trying to torture you. I'm just trying to stretch this out. Do we want to take some more calls, maybe?
I went on
I mean, I
vacation
could have
in
another
Utah.
drink.
That's where I was last
You
week.
were in Utah last week.
Yeah.
Weird.
And I've just been watching a lot of Olympics. I've got Windows Media Center set up with an over-the-air antenna, and it looks incredible.
Right, no compression.
It's like so uncompressed.
Remember
and
when I
love
told you
my life.
I've been telling you this for like 5
Only
years?
problem is I only get NBC, and they show like 3 sports.
I'm just saying. Remember I've been telling you to do this for like years. You can just hook up an antenna. You get brilliant HD.
Well, I've done it for years, but I think they boosted the NBC signal because the last time I tried to watch NBC,
like somebody went on the roof of the
no,
Empire
the last
State
time I
Building
tried to
and
do
like-
this, yeah. The last time
They really? Creighton's not happy at all.
last time I tried to use
they
it,
got the
I was
face.
trying to watch Smash, that
The
show.
NBC show?
Is it NBC?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I couldn't really get a steady signal on it.
You know why? Because they were like, please don't watch the show.
You know, it wasn't
We're
that
gonna-
bad when it started.
It had a great pilot, but
It did.
Yeah.
I heard it fell off.
We're going to take
but
this
I don't
cast
know.
and abuse the privilege. That's what we're going to do with Smash.
right.
I'm wrapping this up.
Okay.
Not that I've been watching Smash. Mind you. I just know everything that's happening.
That's right.
I don't like musical theater. That was the Vergecast.
Yes.
I'm really happy that you were here with us. And you
Speaking
can
of musical theater,
get a hold of us on the internet.
a friend
Yes.
of mine
Do not speak of musical theater.
that I acted with in high school is in the brand new musical Bring It On now on Broadway, or in previews on Broadway.
Can I get a ticket or what, man? You just
I gotta figure out how to get a
throw it
ticket
out there?
first.
All right, that was the Vergecast.
Yes.
Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure as always.
Okay,
I don't know what Josh does during this part.
Email us.
You can email us at vergecast@theverge.com. You can leave a comment on the post.
Yes.
You can dial any 6-digit 800 number and talk to those people
you
about
could-
what happened
you
here
could
today.
You could create a brand new topic in the forums about whatever you want.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
you can go into our forums, do some crazy stuff in there. Well, PG-13 crazy.
You could send me a letter at P.O. Box 501, New York, New York 10276.
I maintain that having a PO box, just a PO box with like 3 digits.
I know, dude. That's
It's
the
like pretty
easiest
badass.
address ever.
Ever. You can help Paul learn how to speak.
If you could send me like an enunciation key with
And
whatever.
you can get to us on Twitter. I'm
Yes.
Reckless. Oh no, Roscoe with no E.
Yes.
And
Offline doesn't count.
Future Paul.
We'll
At
be Future
Future
Paul.
Paul.
Yeah, and
In the
Paul,
future, we'll be Future Paul.
We'll do a thing with Twitter at the end of the year where we collect your tweets.
Oh, yeah.
We have like a day of you just reading tweets from the past. It'll be like a time
By
capsule.
whom?
By the people
By
who are
people who are
tweeting,
tweeting
at,
at me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We'll like relive events.
That's a good idea.
Tweet about the Olympics to at
Does
Future
Twitter's archive features work any better?
Paul. No, I'm saying we'll have to like go to Twitter and like literally like open a server closet
Yeah,
and like pull out a hard
seriously.
drive. What happened here? Like it'll be fine. So that was Vergecast. It was wonderful. It's weird because I usually one who's trolling the end, but I'm doing the end. Rock and roll.
You're doing a great job.
Paul.
There we go. Good night.
Go Missy Franklin.